Hi, everyone. It's Reverend Therese Lee, and this is Unity Spiritual Center, Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. We're grateful that you are with us in consciousness, in prayer, over the ethers, wherever you are, whenever it is that you are watching and being with us. We are grateful. Let's close our outer eyes as we do in Unity and start with prayer. We move consciously from our head to our heart space. And we invite our hearts to be opened and our minds and our ears this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever we are together. And let us see with the eyes of knowing how it is that today our talk about forgiveness will impact us to live a better life. Thank you, God, for Unity, Unity Spiritual Center, Hilton Head Island, and all of Unity. We are grateful. We pray this in the name, after the nature, and under the authority of the living, loving presence that is you and that is me. And so it is. Amen. I'd like for us to talk about forgiveness. As you join us, please put in the box where you're from and your name, any prayer intention you may have. If you would like to receive our e-news, information about our metaphysical classes coming up in August, our email at the office is this: unityofhiltonheadoffice@gmail.com. Let us hear from you. Thank you. Today, forgiveness. Are you willing? That's the question. It is, I think you'll agree, been taught to us since we were children as, well, I probably didn't learn it until I got to Unity in my 30s. It's an imperative spiritual practice. It has to be part of our everyday being with God. And we're always giving for ourselves. Forgive for ourselves. And yet we're going to take a higher look today, 3 different steps that we can choose to be in to have a conscious choice of a wondrous life with and as God expressing. Are you willing? Are you willing? And then you might be saying, whoa, Therese, Reverend Therese, you don't know my life. You don't know how I've been treated, why I've got to get angry, why I was hurt, depressed, resentful, whatever all of the words are. And you know what? It's true. I don't know what you have been through, as you don't know all that I have been through. And so we honor each other in this moment. Wherever each of us has been up until now, we bless it. And so we breathe into that, knowing that we are here to be for each other and with each other. And I want to tell you, whatever feelings you're feeling, feel them. It's good for your soul. It's good for your heart. It's good for your health to feel what you're feeling. And then maybe, as you're willing, we're going to get into these steps of forgiveness. Are you willing? As we practice forgiveness more, what happens is the flow of life happens, and we're able to be part of that flow if we want. We can't be stuck in non-forgiveness and flow. So we forgive so we can be part of the flow of life. You ready? And I think you can get this because we can't travel north and south at the same time, right? It doesn't happen. We can't travel east and west at the same time. It can't happen. What's so wonderful about these Unity teachings, I think now, is I'm approaching a big birthday on Tuesday, to understand that we always have a choice. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, wrote in a fabulous book. If you don't have one, it's online as well, Revealing Word. And it helps us understand definitions of words. So he wrote this about forgiveness. Charles Fillmore said, it is through forgiveness that true spiritual healing is accomplished. Through forgiveness, true spiritual healing is accomplished. Forgiveness, Fillmore says, removes the errors of our small m mind and literally allows us to embody harmony with the divine law. Would it be okay for our bodies to operate from a harmonic space? I'm willing. I say yes for me. Even knowing this intellectually, though, right? We know that it's still hard sometimes to practice forgiveness. That's when our humanity is showing up. And so what do we do in unity? We embrace our humanity and our divinity, always and in all ways. So don't let it be a practice that's unaddressed. Practice forgiveness. Sometimes you might say, well, when I start to feel better about this situation. Well, guess what? The irony is when you practice forgiveness, you start to feel better about the situation. It's a both and. It's a win-win for me and a win-win for you when we practice forgiveness. 3 steps. I think they're pretty crucial for us to be on the path of forgiveness. First is we got to leave behind blame. B-L-A-M-E. Blame. Blame as a definition, let me see if I can remember. It's about wishing that the contents of the mirror were different. It associates itself with hurt and anger and resentment and depression and all of those things. And relinquishing blame means that we make a choice, a conscious choice, to not assign responsibility to anyone or anything. And we don't condemn ourselves either. We get to take responsibility for our actions. Don't assign it to something outside of ourselves. And all the while still loving ourselves as we address this need for forgiveness. Now, you might still say, I don't understand why this happened. I say that a lot. And you might say, that person's being a jerk, or whatever word you might use. Okay. Then we shift in our minds and say, wait, Therese, are you willing to take full responsibility of your life and the outcomes of your life? My answer is yes. Has it always been yes? No. Was it easy to get to yes? No. And it works, and that's why I allow it to happen over and over and over. Saying yes to taking responsibility for my life and the outcomes of them. Does it happen quickly? Not always, even today. So our affirmation is I am willing to take full responsibility for my life and my life's outcomes. So say it with me in parts. I am willing to take full responsibility for my life and my life's outcomes. We breathe into this power, taking care of ourselves, knowing what's best for ourselves. I think you'll agree that responsibility and blame are very, very different. Yes? So we get to, you and I, take responsibility for the events in our lives, and then take responsibility for changing them, if they're ew, and or growing from them and moving on. Choices to stay or choices to go. I'm making some of those choices myself about who to see when I'm in Chicago, while I'm there. When I blame another or give responsibility to another, then what happens is I have to wait for that situation to change, or I have to wait for that person to change in order for me to move ahead. It's counterproductive, yes? Yes, the answer is yes. So if I'm feeling threatened in some way, I can't wait for someone else's actions to change. If I have a migraine, I can't wait for your reaction to change. I have to take care of me. And this is the capital M, me, capital S, self, right? Because if I'm waiting for you to change the situations, waiting for them to make it different, then I'm waiting. And I'm still allowing myself to possibly suffer. And remember, suffering is part of our thoughts held in mind. So we get to say, hey, I don't want to be stuck. I want to be in the flow. So I am going to make a choice. I am going to own my life. I'm not going to allow the spiral down. I'm going to change the situation, choose to make another choice, and then embrace myself as I do so. Letting go any self-loathing, any negativity that might happen. This is when the flow of God's great good that is ours comes into our lives. And then we're able to embrace it. Catherine Ponder, bless her for all the work she's done in unity, says the word forgive simply means to give it up. Give it up, you've heard that, right? And it means that we get to make up a new story about the experience. Are you willing? Are you willing to let go all of that that's no longer serving you? Even though it's July and we usually do that during Lent, no, we do it all the time. So we begin to understand, you and I, that we get to interpret everything in life and the situations that happen around us as happening for us. And then also a step further in that is they don't have any meaning unless we give it meaning. Right? So someone cuts you off on the highway. Is it a big deal or are they having a bad day? We get to decide how we respond or we react. You are invited to respond, instead of reacting. We get to let go our interpretation of what it is that's happening until we found out more facts. And then take responsibility for our reactions or responses to the situation. A Course of Miracles always talks about anger as being the emotion that wants to cause guilt. So let's stop that today. There's no reason to have others feel guilty about things or for ourselves to do that. We make a decision what is right and best for our highest good. And sometimes, a lot of the times, it may mean saying no. Edwin Gaines, a Unity minister, author, retreat giver, many influences in our lives for the time I've been in Unity, these 33 years. She wrote a book called The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, and this is what she talks about with forgiveness. The brand of true forgiveness I'm talking about, she says, can be a little bit difficult to swallow. Edwin says, especially when you think about the truly terrible things that people do to each other. In the book, she explains the story of what happened to her as a child. And then, so you get to read her book, then she goes on to explain that she is eternally grateful for the person who said, hey, let's be done with this story, Edwin. Everybody breathing? So she would tell a story, she says, of being a victim, right? What happened? And the guy finally said, you know what? It's dragging us down. Let's change up the story that benefits you. It's not negating the thing that happened. It's taking it, retelling it, reframing it, and letting it give us power. And so she said she was shocked that he didn't give her the poor baby response that she had been getting all these years. Her teacher told her, in order to heal this childhood trauma, you've got to create a new story about it. And he paused. And he said, it may go something like this. You came, Edwene, onto this planet to be a woman of power. Your soul chose this pathway, and because you chose it, you also chose to take an initiation in the misuse of power at a very young age. Everybody breathe. During this initiation, the teacher says, you learned what it feels like when valuable of all spiritual gifts, the understanding heart, steps into place. Honoring you, regardless of the other person, regardless of the other person's actions. You've understood the misuse of power, and you have been initiated now into understanding the spiritual gift of forgiveness. Edwene said, my world reeled from this and cracked me open a little bit more. It didn't happen overnight, she says, little by little, one day at a time. I began to embrace, Edwene says, this wonderful new story, a saga that completely recorded my personal history. It made me feel powerful rather than powerless. And the gift is I got to give up the role of playing victim. Everybody breathe. Power is often misused. We can see it even in today's world. And we all agree it's horrible, it's terrible. So, Edwene says now in telling the story, I am safe to be in this world as a woman of power. And I will never misuse. I will never intentionally misuse or abuse my power. And in the most wonderful way, she became powerful. A demonstration not only for women, girls, for men and boys as well. What does it look like to change the story so that it embellishes the powerful soul, the powerful life we've come here to live? It's amazing. It's amazing. The third step is about seeing things from other people's perspectives in this process of forgiveness. And a world-renowned teacher, another world-renowned teacher, in addition to Edwene Gaines, that I have in my life is Greg Bear, Dr. Greg Bear. He says, imagine that you are having a most pleasant afternoon poolside with a dear friend at your favorite resort, eating your favorite food. The setting is gorgeous, the company fantastic, the food yummy and delicious, everything you could ask for. Halfway through the meal, something happens. Someone in the pool splashes your shoes. Well, if you're like me, I love my shoes. Okay, I'm only midway through this wonderful experience, and my shoes are now splashed. Can't really see who it is in the pool because there's a lounge chair in the way. So, a little bit annoyed, not happy that your shoes are wet, and I go on with my delightful time of lunch with my friend. Then, moments later, a bigger splash comes from the pool and drenches my shoes. And then immediately follow that, a wave comes and I am all wet. My clothes are all wet. There is water up on the food table. Everything, all of a sudden, for this couldn't be better experience is ruined. I am angry. Now remember, this is the story Greg is telling. And I am angry at the buffoon in the pool that is causing the splashing. Right? So you're ticked off, or whatever word you might use. Be honest. Be honest. You stand up, push your chair back from the table, and you walk to the edge of the pool to give the person that's splashing you, that has ruined your shoes, your clothes, your lunch, a piece of your mind. It's not hard for me to picture. You go over to the pool side and you see it isn't someone frolicking and having fun. Rather, instead, it is a person who is struggling in the water, gulping water, going underneath, coming up, splashing, basically in a possible drowning situation. Everybody breathe. Touch your emotions for a minute. Let them take you. Is there any place in your mind in that moment that you need to forgive this person for getting you all wet? Not at all. Right? Not at all. You suddenly realize in a quick moment that this person wasn't here ruining your day, simply trying to save themselves in the pool. Quite a different perspective, isn't it? The truth, Greg Bear says, which is a lower T truth, is that every act of unkindness, hurt, and destruction, that one person does to another is done because the perpetrator is drowning, quote unquote, in their own pain, fear, and trying to save themselves. Wow. What a great explanation. I'm going to read it again. Greg Bear says that the truth, lowercase t, is that every act of unkindness, hurt, destruction that another person does is because they are drowning, quote unquote, in their own pain. They are drowning in fear. They are drowning and they are trying to save themselves. Wow. Again, it doesn't make it right that your shoes got all wet, that your clothes were wet and your food was ruined. And it does give us, I think you'll agree, a new level of understanding, which then enables us to move right into forgiveness and other action, of course, to get this guy out of the pool. Forgiveness for accusing this person in the pool who's trying to live for ruining, quote unquote, your lunch. Greg Bear says you will find the ultimate goal for any act taken by anyone is always, always, always the same. They are trying to be free of pain. They are trying to be happy. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Everybody breathing? Destructive behaviors, Breyer says, will never give the person the ultimate goal. So instead of anger and resentment for their action, we get to have compassion and empathy. Are you willing? Remember, our opening prayer was about opening our mind and our ears and our heart. Can we have compassion and empathy for the struggle another may have when they act out against us? Or so it seems. The guy drowning in the pool had no awareness, I am sure, of the person sitting poolside trying to eat. What I love about unity is the practicality of understanding everyday life that allows us then to move into our divinity, balance our humanity, and be God expressing in the world. As we take a moment to be mindful, be aware, get centered in self. The highest level of forgiveness is when we can say thank you for the experience. In that pool situation, I might have gotten to thank you that I've had swim lessons. Thank you that my grandbabies have all had swim lessons. I'm not sure what your thank you experience would be in any situation. However, I invite you to get to that point, because as we can say thank you, we then have done the ultimate act of forgiveness. Every day, we can choose to send love and compassion from wherever we are to all of those enemies, quote unquote, out there. And I would recommend we start with the enemies within. That negative self-talk, whatever it is that we do to ourselves that's not loving. At this place, you and I coming from love first is so much more important, I think you'll agree, than being right. It's not about being right. So as something might offend us, we choose to make it not personal, to depersonalize the situation. One of my coaches tells me, I've been spared when I'm not invited to something. Takes me a moment to realign and go, oh, you're right. You are absolutely right. And again, they don't want to be right, but it's the right situation for my mind to get to. We get to separate ourselves from what seems to be hurting us and send peace, love, and light instead of justified indignation. It just feels so much more calm knowing that that's what I'm going to choose to do instead. This is the place where you and I step into, swim into the flow of the greatness and goodness of what we call God in unity. The divine flow of life, living as you and me, through you and me. It's the clearest channel for the expression of God. When you and I are centered and we come from a place of forgiveness, when we come from a place of expressing love. Apostle Paul tells us, God is love. Love is God. Guess what? You are love. Love is you. Say this to yourself. Wherever you are, I am love, love is me. Now add your name. I am love, love is Therese. And imagine if we said that to every person we encounter, especially when they're on your last nerve. Charles Fillmore, Unity co-founder, says in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, divine love will establish one in fearlessness and courage. For God gave us not a spirit of fearfulness. Rather, God gave us a spirit of power and love and discipline. It's always an inside job, right? We say that all the time. So in order to be in this flow, we get to relinquish all blame and take full responsibility for ourselves and our lives. Step 2, we get to give up the story and then reframe the experience. Number 3, we get to see the situation differently from the perspective of ourselves rather than the guilty party. How would we want to be handled in a drowning situation? How often do we want to be happy and have a life of harmony and we get stuck, right? We get to be grateful for the experience. Bottom line, thank you for the experience, even as we're working through it, even when it feels a little ooey. We bless it and we embrace it. Close your outer eyes as you're comfortable and let us move into a time of prayer and meditation and quiet together. Thank you, living, loving presence, for forgiveness, where we give for ourselves and we allow ourselves to feel the flow of you as the divine creator in, through, and as each of us. Within and without, we forgive in this moment. Things past, future things, we forgive. We allow everyone to be free through forgiveness, starting with ourselves, and we allow ourselves to be free as well. Let us spend some time in the silence together, embracing the forgiveness and the love that each of us is. In the silence. I live, move, and have my being as forgiveness and love expressing out into the world through me and as me. I allow the flow to embrace me, the flow of life, the one that is created by God, in, through, and as you and me. As we bring our attention back to this time and this place, we remember that we will take full responsibility and relinquish all blame. We will give up our story and reframe it and step into the power of our lives as we see each situation with empathy and compassion. And so it is. We let it be. Amen. As you're so moved, we gratefully receive through our website your practice of generosity, www.unityofhiltonhead.org. There is a practice generosity button that you get to push. Use your credit card or PayPal or snail mail, which I love, P.O. Box 1392, Bluffton, South Carolina, 29910. And so it is. We are grateful. Embracing the flow of life. Thank you for who you are, all that you bring to our time together, for your consciousness. Put your hand up. Let us feel all that you are. We are grateful. And so it is. I'm Reverend Therese, signing off, Unity Spiritual Center, Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Many blessings. Have a great week.